This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
Refreshing wild cherry cola meets smooth cream. The treat you deserve. Pepsi Wild Cherry and Cream. Treat yourself.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Jay. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying safe and staying healthy. Happy spring to everybody. This weekend, we entered in the spring of 2021. And for most of us, it's been a year since we went under lockdown and had some sort of rules and stipulations about going out, going to restaurants, all that stuff. And here in Chicago, at least, we're starting to climb our way out of that. I think we're now at 20 to 50% capacity, depending on where you're at. Some counties are allowing more in, but we are on the road back to normal, whatever that will be when we get there. I know there's going to be some changes, but hopefully they're minimal, and hopefully they don't distract or keep us from enjoying the things that we normally enjoy under better circumstances. It just seems pretty weird to kind of be able to see dining rooms open again at restaurants and small concert halls and venues starting to book bands. I'm of the opinion that I think it's a little too soon. Not that I'm excited for what's happening. I certainly am. But I just think that we're so close to putting it away for good, right? And that's my opinion. I think we're so close with vaccines and social distancing and wearing masks. And I just don't want something else to happen, another strain to mutate or whatever the case is, to kind of bring us back to where we were beginning of last spring of 2020. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope it keeps being positive and better news and better days are ahead of us. I just can't help but think and be cautious because, like I said, we're so close to really turning that page for good. I just hope that we don't do things too soon because we want everything to go back to normal and then find ourselves clawing our way out of the fourth wave or the third wave or the fifth wave, whatever wave we're on, depending on what region or geographic location that we're in. But I do think that the start of baseball is going to be in a couple weeks, and I do know that Wrigley Field and Comiskey Park, I still call it Comiskey, I think it's guaranteed rate field, but I still call it Comiskey, are going to be at 20 to 25% capacity on opening day. So that's a real positive, and I hope that continues, and I hope by middle of summer, end of summer, we're at or near 100% capacity. I know football stadiums in the fall will then follow suit. I know high schools with high school sports will be somewhat back to normal. We're kind of in that stage where, we could either go either way right now. We could either fall back or we can keep moving forward. And I hope we do keep moving forward. I just wish and hope that we remain cautious and remain vigilant and put this behind us, because I know a lot of my listeners love going to rock shows. I know I do. If you listen to this show consistently, I'm always talking about it, how much I miss it. And I hope before we know that we're all back doing it. I know the plan is to see my first concert since November of 2019 is Wild Street. They're playing at a small club about 20 to 25 minutes from me out in a town called West Chicago. Not West Chicago of Chicago, the west side, West Chicago, the suburb. So I know it's about a half hour from me probably. So I'm hoping to see them here at the end of April. And I hope that show stays on and I can go and enjoy that because I've had them on the podcast too as well last year. And I'm just looking forward to seeing them live. I actually was going to go see them last April down in the city, down in Chicago. But, of course, that got canceled and was never rescheduled for that venue. But keeping our fingers crossed, hoping it all goes down the way we want. I know there's some big tours out there that are still planning on coming to Chicago and planning on coming to other areas too as well across the United States. And I hope that does happen. I just hopefully we're not doing this too soon. But, hey, like what I always say, we are an escape for you, talking music with great rock interviews, great music commentary. If you haven't had the chance to listen to the episode with Christy and Eagle on blockchain and SoundCloud and how that might turn the tables for artists in getting paid more and getting more revenue in for them, putting more money in their pocket, it really could be a game changer. It's still at that infant stage and how it impacts music. And there's a lot to be done and there's a lot to see before we can really kind of stake that claim or, put that flag down and state that this is going to happen. But it is trending towards that. And it is exciting for artists and bands that struggle with just making music and just putting on an album and having to tour to really make money. This may give them the ability to kind of go back to what it was like before, where bands are making more money off records and are able to support themselves. And obviously we like the touring constantly, but I think as music fans we all know that they deserve more money in their pocket. They do create, they do take the time to make music. And yes, I know they're in it because they love making music, but in the end, there is no other industry that just basically gets paid nothing to do what they do. Not a plumber, not a construction worker, not a teacher, not a lawyer, not a doctor. And it's just a unique moment in the art of music, where the value of music and the value of creation of that music is dismissed. It just feels like people can just take it, and that's wrong. And I know people say, these artists from years past drive around in their Ferraris and they have these big mansions. You know what? They were good enough. They were lucky enough to be in that position where millions of people across the globe bought their music, bought their albums, went to go see them in concert. They deserve every stinking penny. So don't diminish what they've done and what they've accomplished in their music career and say that, they shouldn't be driving around or, I don't pity them or I don't feel sorry for them. Listen, most of them came from nothing. And now most of them are in that position to afford those things because they made music that you enjoy, that you connected with. And there is a value to that. And the value is what it was. And it still is the same value. And for whatever reason, people think that they can just take the music, whether it's file sharing or think that just listening to a streaming service, paying $9, $10, $15 a month, where the artist gets and not even a half a cent in streaming, in money from streaming services, I just think that's wrong. But back to our current episode. I know a lot of people have been sending me DMs, and a lot of people have been asking about this on my Twitter feed over the last month or so about, hey, are you going to get Richie Kotzen back on the show? Are you going to, have him on for the Smith Kotzen project that they're doing? And the answer is yes. And that's why we're here today, because this is the introduction to the Smith Kotzen album. This album was recorded after the release of the 50 for 50 Richie Kotzen album that he released on his 50th birthday, and it is magnificent. The album is everything that you would hope it would be. It is just filled with obviously great riffs when you have Richie Kotzen and Adrian Smith. You've got great songwriting. They play off each other very well. It's got a very Bad Company, Deep Purple, Coverdale era type of vibe to it, which is phenomenal. And I think that they were striving for that. And Richie talks about that in the interview. You can definitely hear that. But it is just fantastic in terms of the production, in terms of the songs. And the only complaint that I have is I wish there was more, because when the album ends, you are like, oh, man, it's over. I want to listen to it again, but I want there to be more songs. And there's a total of 9 songs on the album. I think Richie did say in the interview that they did record 10, but they just went with 9. Maybe that comes out on an extra special edition album later on. But nonetheless, you've got 9 great tunes for you to enjoy. This album was recorded in the Turks and Caicos Islands in February of last year. It was produced by Richie and Adrian themselves, as well as mixed by Kevin Shirley. And you're going to hear the harmonies, you're going to hear the melodies. Richie, we know what he brings to the table, of course, if you're a fan of his solo career and also the Winery Dogs. But you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Not that I don't think anyone thought that he was capable of this, but Adrian, away from Maiden, you really get to see and appreciate his style more. And his voice is very Paul Rodgers-esque, which was a very, very great surprise to hear that. But I'll let you guys judge. The album is out this Friday, March 26th. Enjoy it. Listen to it. Hey, man, I hope they do another one. I hope that they release more material, because they should do more. And I hope they do. But here we go. Here's the episode. Enjoy it. Leave some feedback. Richie's great in this interview and offers some great insight about the record as well as him during COVID. And enjoy the Smith Kotzen album this Friday. Take care, everybody. Good evening, everybody. It's Jay Scott on The Hook Rocks, the Ultimate Rock Community Podcast. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for listening. As always, I hope you're staying healthy. I hope you're staying safe. And I hope you're staying warm. Seems like the whole country has a bit of weather issues going on all over the place, from Texas to the Northeast. Actually, I think it rained or snowed in Malibu like 3 weeks ago. So it's all over. But hey, we're here talking music. We're here talking music, and we have a return guest to the show. I had the pleasure of interviewing him last year when he released his 50 for 50 album. We have once again Mr. Richie Kotzen. What's going on, Richie?
Not too much, man. Just kind of chilling. Finished up a couple interviews today and talking to you about the new record, Smith Kotzen.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I had the pleasure to listen to it over the weekend, and the only disappointing thing about it is it only has 9 songs, because it is a phenomenal album.
Thank you. Now, I'm on the other side of it. I like that it's only 9 songs, because it reminds me of one of those old classic rock records that I would get as a kid, where you had 4 or 5 songs on the side, pull the album out and just put it on and there you go. But I think, there's no reason why down the road we can't write more songs. So that's the good side of it, is we can always write more. But, yeah, man, I'm super excited about the record. And really, I was hoping, when we finished the record last year, I was hoping that we'd be out, touring, getting on the road. But unfortunately, we can't do that. But the good news is that the record is on track to be released when we initially intended it to be.
You mentioned collaborating with other artists in the past. Obviously, we all know the Winery Dogs is a big part of Richie Kotzen, and of course, your your solo albums are, you just released 50 for 50 last February. This collaboration was kind of organic, it seemed like. You and Adrian have been friends for a while, and it was just kind of the natural progression to eventually write an album. Is that how it happened?
Yeah, I mean, it is. Normally under normal circumstances, I'm kind of left to my own devices. So, I haven't really done any collaborating on anything since, I guess 2014 was when we recorded the Winery Dog record. So it's been a long time since I've actually done anything like this. So with Adrian, it just fell into place. We happened to he has a place here in Malibu, and we happened to be hanging out. Someone had mentioned, hey, you guys should try and write something. You've been friends for a long time. Might be kind of fun. And so we got together. I think, to memory serves correctly, Running was the first thing that we did, that song on the album called Running. And Adrian had that big, heavy riff. The guitar was tuned down, which is cool because it's something a little out of character for me. I don't normally tune down a half step and then take it even further. I've done it before, but it's not as much as a lot of guys do it. So that was cool to have that riff. And then it kind of hit me, the chorus idea. It all kind of came together for both of us. So that was the first thing I remember us working on. And that kind of led us into thinking, hey, there might be something here. Let's see it through. And now obviously we have a whole album finished.
The album really has a Free, Bad Company, Deep Purple kind of vibe to it. Is that what you guys were trying to capture?
Well, I don't think we were trying to do much of anything other than just see what the hell would happen. We didn't have any kind of conversation of, hey, let's go for this. Hey, let's go for that. I don't think either one of us even really work that way. Like, I know there's guys that like to sit down and calculate and map out a plan. We're not those kind of guys. So we really just got in there and just started throwing ideas around. Every single came from one of us throwing an idea at the other person, and then the other person just grabbing the ball and going as far as they could and then handing it back. So it's a true collaboration. But as far as the style goes, no, we didn't discuss anything. I think we have a natural, taste. We both love, for example, as far as singers go, Paul Rodgers, top of the list. So, we love Free and Bad Company and that era of music. Adrian is well versed in blues, probably more so than me. But at the same time, I grew up listening to a lot of the what you call traditional R&B, like the Spinners or the OJs, stuff out of Philadelphia area where I'm from. So I have that kind of R&B soul influence, which kind of ties into his blues influence. And then we like the same sort of rock band. So as far as the directions, I think it just spelled itself out. I mean, that's what happens when he and I get in a room and pick up some guitars.
I know you guys have jammed before making this record. I know there was a picture released a couple years ago on Christmas Eve of you guys having some sort of jam band, I think at his house. It was either New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve. I can't remember which. But when did you guys decide to record an album? What was the decision to do that?
Well, yeah, now you're talking about a few years back. Now that's what I was saying earlier, that he's got a room there in the house with all the guitars and the amps, and they would have parties around the holidays. Now I've been invited to these parties multiple times, over the course of a few years. And then that last one that we had a party there got a little bit of attention on some of the social media. Someone put a picture out, and it was around that time when we were thinking, hey, let's try and write something together. And then that's what led to the making of the album was, that. But that was one of many jams. It just so happened that was one that they got pictures of us and put it out there. But it was shortly after that when we thought, hey, let's try and write something, see what we come up with.
Was the vacation that you guys went on based around the recording of the album?
Yeah, the idea was to record down there in Turks and Caicos, and I'd never been there before, but Adrian and his wife frequent that place quite a bit, so they thought, this might be a nice departure to go down to Turks and Caicos, record the album, and it worked out really well because I was in Miami. I had just performed on the Monster Rock cruise, so my wife and I stayed in Miami, and then we flew down there and got together. We rented a house down there and set everything up so we could record and do all that stuff. And, the first 2 days, I got to be honest, I wasn't interested in the studio. I was on the beach, with a cocktail. And then after a while, I realized, well, now, we're down here for a reason, so let's get to it. So, but, we did the work, and it was a nice vibe. Get up in the morning. Adrian likes to go fishing. I'd go take a swim, in the ocean, and we'd meet up, do some recording, and then go to dinner that night and start it all over the next day. So it was a great way to work. All the while, I was doing press for my 50 for 50 record because I had lined up 4 continents worth of touring for 2020. And then obviously, all hell broke loose, and now nobody's doing anything and nobody knows when they can go back out again. So it's, not so great. But, the plan was to make the record. I was going to go do my thing. He was going to go tour with Maiden, and then we were going to get back together and tour it, next month. But, next month meaning next month from now. But, obviously things were sideways. The good news is that we can still put the record out. So that's great. We're right on point with the release date. And so it seems like things are going to start opening up, hopefully. Then we can get out and Adrian and I can hop on stage and play some of this stuff.
You've mentioned in the past year, since your 50 for 50 album came out, you mentioned that the way touring and the way promoters pay out artists for touring may be different, and it may be a challenge for you to tour. Is that still part of your thinking, or is that kind of gone away as time has gone by during this pandemic?
It's crossed my mind, to clarify, what's crossed my mind is that, touring is a very complicated animal, and depending on how popular you are or not, there's different kind of variables, different kinds, there's insurances, there's all these things that you have to take into account. And one of the things that just crossed my mind is once touring, what are the parameters going to be? Because, before the pandemic, there were definitely some things that were challenging for an artist like myself, things that would be boring to the average person, but, where you can idle the bus, where you can park the bus, especially in Europe, different ordinances. They have these sound meters that you can't play beyond a certain level in certain venues. So all these little obstacles. And I just wondering out loud, somebody, I don't know how that got out because I don't remember doing an interview, but I was thinking to myself, well, now with this COVID thing, what kind of new obstacles are they going to put in the path of the musician to get up and do, what we do? So I don't know. I don't have the answer for that, but, hopefully it's some things that are within the realm of reason. You don't want to have to say, okay, you can go tour now. However, you got to do this, that, and this, and you can't do this, that, and this, and that. And then suddenly you're like, well, at this point, why bother doing it at all? But, this is all just stuff in my imagination. I'm not really too concerned about it because I'm sure things will be fine. But somewhere along the line, I must have voiced that opinion. I just don't remember where.
I think it was probably a few months into your record release last summer where I read it in an article. But so okay. But then it was definitely after all this stuff hit. Yeah.
The pandemic and the shutdown, right? Yeah. So I don't know. I guess that's something to think about. But it's going to be what it is, I guess. Still, no one's able to tour. They just canceled some big festivals I heard in Europe, and so we have to see. Have to wait and see. I'm tired of waiting, but I don't think I have a choice.
Yeah, I think we're all tired of just not seeing live shows. I know I am. It's just like the last live show I saw was November 2019. I saw Big Wreck, downtown Chicago. And then the last performance I saw was in Milwaukee in March of last year. I saw Dave Chappelle, and I haven't been to anything since then. So
wow, yeah. The last time I've been on stage in front of an audience is a year ago down in Miami. I did the sail away party for the Monsters of Rock cruise, and I actually hopped on the boat and did one performance, and that was it. It's been a year.
When you talked about,
but I have to say something. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I do have to say one thing. One thing about it, though, I have to say, I didn't realize that how much I really actually needed a break. Now, this is completely separate from what's going on in the world. Nothing to do with it, so I don't want that to get wrapped up into the same thing. But by staying home for me for a full year, it actually did wonders for me, like mentally, physically. Because what happens when you're a recording artist, it becomes difficult to say no. When someone calls and says, hey, we got 3 weeks for you in Europe, blah, 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 can you go? You don't want to say no to that because you don't know when that's going to go away or, you just don't know what's around the corner. So the instinct is to say, yeah, I'll take the dates. Or somebody calls, hey, we can do a South America tour in June. Yeah, give me the dates. But what was happening to me, and I didn't even realize it, like I was starting to get like a little nuts mentally, like, being out on the road all the time and just, waiting and airplanes and buses and being transported from place to place. And I don't know, I think it was really, really taking a negative toll on me being on the road at the level that I was doing it. Because I was always out. If I wasn't out with the Winery Dogs, I was out solo. And I was going back and forth. And this year, I think the silver lining for me was the fact that I got to stay home. I just cleaned up all kinds of bullshit for myself personally, mentally, emotionally. So the good news, hopefully, is once things do come back, I'll be, in a much better position. I'll be a better performer live and what have you. But I think I needed the break.
When you think about the past year, and like you just mentioned, you needed a break, and it was kind of a forced break, but there was some good that came out of it. When you're on a normal cycle like you normally are, you're a very busy artist. You're releasing an album, you're touring, another album, touring. When you get in those cycles, it's kind of hard to go outside your box, to kind of be more creative than what you want to do. Now that you were able to breathe a little bit, did you find that your creativity was sort of rejuvenated?
No, that's the other thing that's kind of funny, because I have a built-in mechanism for that anyway. So basically, even on the outside, it probably appears that, oh, Richie's always working, always doing something. Reality is I'm not. I have long stretches where I don't do anything musically. I mean, weeks go by, I don't even touch the guitar. And then suddenly I get an idea for a song, and then I'll write it, and then it'll sit somewhere, and then I'll write another one, so on and so forth. So I'm not really always on, but what was getting to me was always being away, like that travel thing of like, okay, I'm home for a month, but then I got to go fly somewhere else. See, that's the thing that was making me crazy. So, but oddly, when the lockdown happened, you know, I didn't really dive into some crazy creative thing because my pattern didn't really, you know, the touring was taken away, but my general like vibe as far as writing and not writing wasn't really that much affected. I just had done a song and put out 50 records. I mean, 50 songs on an album, you know, 50 for 50. So I already exhausted that element of creativity. And then, you know, the record was finished. The Smith Kotzen record was finished. So I think kind of what I did was just kind of lay way back in the cut and just put my feet up, you know, and just say, okay, well, here's the break that I thought that I might need. So just ride it out. But no, nothing. I didn't get real creative and start, you know, I didn't make 4 more albums. Or, you know, I did some work to the house, you know, I did some stuff outside and that sort of thing. But no, I just enjoyed time with my wife, you know, like my kid, you know, stuff like that.
And the dog too,
She's not
right?
a kid anymore. She's a grown woman. And my dog, Cheech, yep.
Going back to the record with Adrian, you mentioned when you first recorded the debut album with the Winery Dogs, how you brought a lot of material to the Winery Dogs that you had been working on. What was the writing process like with Adrian for this record? Did you bring a lot of ideas, or was it all just starting from scratch?
No, so yeah, it was not like that. It was all just starting from scratch. And to be perfectly honest, usually it would start with Adrian having something, like a riff of some kind. He would always have something. And I would hear it and think, oh, wow, that's killer. Let's go here with it. Let's go there with it. And that seems to be how it worked. And then I would take it as far as I could. And then if I got stuck, then he'd step back in. So, okay, let's do this, do that. That's really how I remember the process, which I think is why it was so fluid, because, you know, when you bring an idea in, sometimes you have something that's almost finished. So you already have an emotional investment in this thing. And you really oftentimes are less willing to mess with it. Your focus at that point is getting it to where you think it should be, because you've already gotten thus far. Whereas if you're on the other end of it, if you're coming into something that's complete scratch, like a bass riff or a guitar riff, and then you can take that into a song, it's almost easier to do that. Like a great example, because you brought up the Winery Dogs, that song, Hot Streak, was on the title of the last album, Hot Streak. That was a riff that Billy was playing in this rehearsal room. He was sitting there by himself playing that. And it was at my old house and in my studio there. And I said, man, that's cool. Let's jam on that. You see? And so that just kind of turned into a song. And when things happen that way, you know, I think they're more fluid, as opposed to like, I have a song that I wrote and all I need is a bridge. You know, then you get in there, someone's going to want to try and tweak a chorus, but you've already written it. That's a little less, I don't know what the word is, less appealing, I suppose. So with Adrian and I, we really did write from zero. You know, I didn't have any song halfway done and brought it in. We didn't do any of that. We just wrote everything from ground zero.
What's also recognizable on this album is how fluid you guys are with each other in terms of the song. Like it works so well. And that was one of the big questions that I had, was how is this going to sound? And the way you guys play off of each other and the way you guys have a feel for each other's playing is really remarkable, and it really shines through on this record.
Well, you know, I think I talked about it earlier a little bit. You know, our influences, we have that common ground. But, you know, to take it even further, it's not like we're two guys that are like guitar guys. That like our whole thing is the guitar. I think our whole thing as individuals, before you even get into the guitar, is songwriting. You know, I think that was the whole purpose here, is to write some songs together. And then after the song exists, then you can do whatever you want with the guitar. But, you know, that was our driving force, was, you know, the song. And so I think that's why it works. That's obviously, if you don't have a song and you're a musician, you have nothing to play, you know, unless you're going to play other people's songs. So that's my theory on that one.
As far as 2021 goes, I mean, this album is coming out and it's going to be huge. I think it's a great album. What's next for you, Richie?
Well, you know, I don't know. I don't really think in those terms. I mean, I would have to look at what my pattern has been in the past. I'll probably write more songs and I'll probably make another record. I would imagine that once Adrian and I get together again, we will probably throw around some ideas which could lead us to another album in the future. You know, I know that I've spoken quite a bit to Billy and Mike about the winery dogs, and you know, once we can all get to the same place at the same time and we're all comfortable flying and all that sort of thing, you know, there could be something happening there. But basically, I feel pretty good about what I've done and what I've released and what I've done with Adrian. I'm really excited about that. So I guess I'm just going to wait and see what happens. At some point, I'm going to want to get out and play one way or another. So I don't know if I'll call my band and set something up in the yard and just play for the dog. I don't know what I'm going to do, but hopefully at some point we can do some live stuff, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're all missing it. Well, everybody, we're going to end on that note. Once again, I'd like to thank my guest, Richie Kotzen. Get the new album that's out with him and Adrian Smith, Smith Kotzen, and it's their debut album being released on March 26th. So check out the first single, Taking My Chances, and we all look forward to hearing more and hopefully one day seeing them on the stage together. Once again, I'm Jay Scott. This is the Hook Rocks, the Ultimate Rock Community Podcast. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks.